Warm greetings on the third day of USG 2021 conference. Today, we start a session with a very informative and knowledge-packed talk by Professor Kamal Jain on UAV, a game changer in geomatics. Dr. Kamal Jain is a professor in the Department of Civil Engineering, IIT Roorkee, and also the organizing secretary, UASG 2021. He performs a broad spectrum of functions and is at the forefront of cutting-edge research. His specialization includes advanced surveying, analytical and digital photogrammetry, geomatic techniques in agriculture, water resources, environment, highway engineering, web GIS development and application. He has a diverse range of research interests that include surveying, photogrammetry, advanced digital image processing, GIS, remote sensing, 3D city modeling, embedded product development, software and mobile development, to name a few. His expertise has been recognized both at international, national, and also at the regional level. He has published more than 150 papers in international journals and conferences and has more than 33 patents and copyrights registered to his name. He has been awarded the Excellence Award for Industrial Research and Consultancy 2019 by the Institute of Engineers, India, and was invited by IEEE International Geoscience and Remote Sensing Symposium 2019 to chair a technical session on urban remote sensing. He is also a member of multidisciplinary committee as think tank on Ganga Rejuvenation, Government of India. I now invite Professor Kamal Jain to share his extensive knowledge with us.
Good morning to all of you. My topic for the talk is UAV, a game changer in geomatics. Idea of this talk was because everyone is talking about application of UAV, but in my opinion, UAV is changing analytics in geomatics. So in other slides, I'll be showing you some application and why we say it is game changer, how the analytics are changing. I'll not go into how photography is done or how analysis is done. I straight away will come to the application and the limitation. You can see initially when you are preparing a map, the normal practice in UAV, all the softwares gives ortho image. And this map you can see is prepared from ortho image. So if you see on the right screen, in the right screen, this house is projected outside, whereas it should be in one line. And then also you see there are projections on the road which we are not able to see in ortho image. So and especially in India, where the encroachment is large in every city, so the error in digitizing for property tax purpose will be out at least 2 to 3 feet in one side only. Now, we are able to see all poles and line that has become easier because the resolution of the image. So you can see in this slide, right slide, we have poles and electric line. Now that problem of ortho rectification, you can see a narrow lane because in India, especially congested city, you have narrow lane. So when you take the photograph of this, then this area is hidden. The bottom of the houses are hidden, so you are not able to see the narrow lane and also the bottom. So the DM which is prepared by autocorrelation is not giving you the bottom surface. So when the ortho photo is prepared from this lane will not be there. So you can see in from different angle, we are able to see the lane, but once ortho photo is prepared, this lane will not be seen. So in our experience, we see that at least 1 to 1.5 meter lane sometimes will not be visible because the projections are there. This example is not showing any projection, but if there are projections also in the roof, then you will not be able to see the narrow lane. And so now for smart cities, government is talking map on 1:500 scale. 1:500 scale means about 10 to 12 centimeter accuracy. So everyone is talking about the picture resolution of 2 to 3 centimeter, and then standard formula that the planimetry accuracy will be 2 times of the pixel. But that is not true here. In orthophoto, that will not be there. If you see here in the left photo, the road is crossing the building. The reason is because this road is digitized in 3D. That means 3D digitization, which was conventional in conventional photogrammetry, is followed here. And that is the bottleneck here. So that this is again game changer, what I am seeing, first game changer in photogrammetry. In photogrammetry, we are aware that 3D digitization is a normal thing. But in drone survey, so far, most of the commercial surface is not providing that facility. And the reason is obvious. So, but we have prepared our algorithm where we are converting drone image to like aerial photography. And once it is converted, then in any normal conventional aerial triangulation or photogrammetry software, we can do digitization here. So this photograph, you see, it is shown in anaglyphic. If you wear the glass, anaglyphic glass, you will be able to see. So that way, the accuracy increased from 30 to 50 centimeter to 5 to 10 centimeter. That means now, if you digitize in 3 dimension, then you can say that accuracy is equivalent to 1:500 scale. Now you can see this is the map which is prepared of some area. Many side you will see that projections, the building projections are on the road. But if had we digitized this in orthophoto, we would have got only the outer this boundary which is on the road. But when we digitize in 3 dimension, we are able to digitize the bottom of the building, and we can see the drains also, which are just adjoining the building. And you get the now you can see the projection. Almost half the road is on the projection. So that is the accuracy when we are doing in orthophoto. That accuracy is not possible, especially in habitation area, unless it is done in 3 dimension. So one challenge in drone image is 3D digitization. Second is when that also I'll cover here. When you the DTM is prepared, or DSM, it is taking points, random points definitely, but the points if you are not getting at the bottom, and the point also not uniform at the top. So the building edges many times you'll find distorted, and we see this problem because of DSM. When it is converting to orthophoto, the bottom is not, we don't have point at the bottom. So many times it will not be perfect rectification. So that error also there. So you don't have get the footprint of the building. Now you can see here we have shown what, there is one more algorithm which is again patented. Here DSM which you get from, whether you get from aerial photography or from LiDAR, there may be non-uniform distribution of points many times. And all the algorithms which are available with the software for point reduction, they reduce point like 1/10 if you say so. Every 10th point will be taken for new reduced DSM. But here we have given algorithm where uniformly in square, I can define per square meter area, the point, lowest point will be taken in that per square meter. So where the point distribution is low, there also you will have point. In other software, that point will be lost by 1/10. It'll lost. So here you can see in the right it is reduced, and the filter DM is like this. And in filter DM you can see all trees, everything automatically are filtered down, which in normal software is done by segmentation. But that again leaves some point. But here, because you are selecting the lowest point in per unit defined area, so that point is not there. Now, this is again case study, typical case study where it is, we have to find out the profile of railway line. So again, the problem here is because the area is a linear type. So in linear, you can see that the number of points, control points required is different than any square or rectangular area. So, if you, in this area, if you do automatic contouring, you will find the difference. Because of point, the line which, curve line which should be straight will curve inside. But here, you can see here the profile is almost perfect. So that was again a challenge. So here again, we have given algorithm by which I'll show you other slide where the sack can be removed. Now, challenge in when you are using UAV in agriculture, or you can say using multispectral. Normally, we know that this is multispectral NDVI formula. The challenge here is, you know, in satellite image, because of the scattering effect, the blue band is missed. We are not having blue band, but in UAV, blue band is there. So the NDVI will be, in my opinion, will be all this will be redefined for using blue band. The lower one we have shown that by conventional NDVI, this is the image. Now here again, in this case, what we have done, we have calibrated the satellite image with the UAV NDVI. So you can see the spread. Here for UAV, the spread is 0.14 to 0.74. But here in Sentinel, the same difference is from 0.11 to 0.62. So if you want to calibrate, that means the both spread should be same. So after this is after first calibration, this is stretched to almost same limits. And now here you can see the different classification which normally you do in image processing. Now in satellite image, we are talking of superpixel and subpixel. In UAV, the resolution is much better than the required. So you can see here the difference. We have shown the difference in area. In the left image, two images, it is UAV data, and right two images are from satellite data. And after classification, you can see that the small patch which is there vacant is again showing some cultivation. So now the difference in area you can see is not ignorable. You have difference in area. So this is for one parcel, especially in India, because the parcels are small. So there may be, if you are going for high resolution, because the satellite image was for high resolution. If you are going for high resolution image, then also the error is, you have the error in the area calculation. Other thing is in when you are using multispectral camera in UAV, 4 cameras, I think those who have worked in this area, they might have noticed that the images are not a 8-bit image. Each band is not providing 8-bit image. It is providing 16-bit image. But the software which are used, it is automatically taking, it compresses it to 8-bit. So you are losing most of the detail. What we have done, we have taken all the images separately, and then again we have given some analytics where there is a difference between the camera. So it has to be registered, but in registration, you should not lose the original pixel value. So that we have provided. So after converting, you can use this multispectral in any digital image processing software, which otherwise is not possible because all images are not properly registered if you open independently. Now this is the area I'm showing that for large scale mapping we have done in 3D. So the already I have given all example, but this is just to show that the big area also can be covered using UAV. This is the area, one area where you can see all at 1:5, finally distillation is at 1:500. So you can see all details are there. with the road and drainage. This second case study is for flood zonation. This we have done for one area in Luxor. So you can see here the profile. The profile is 3 places we have shown the profile, and very clearly we are getting the bunk position also, and through hydrological analysis the flooding zone has been defined. Other case study is volumetric analysis of a stone crusher. They wanted to find out how much the sand is deposited. So again, this problem, was not possible through terrestrial laser. So UAV was used, normal with camera. So then if you go for automatic correlation and DSM generation, again, the problem will be, the same problem which is there in LiDAR. The filtering manual work is, a lot of manual work is there. So, but we prefer the manual preparation of DSM depending upon the area. So even many times you can see through trees also. So we get the bottom below the tree, or in this case. So here you can see that in this is done, and now area is calculated here. Now we have initially about 2-3 years back, when we found that in some this residential area also, if you do the profiling, you find that one side it is slightly tilted. So initially I gave that this is the problem of here we are not going for absolute orientation. So this problem is because of that. So if you provide the ground control points, you can see that both sides are flattened up and the tilt is removed. So that's why people say that if we provide the proper distributed control point, then this can be removed. That time only we thought of attaching a GPS, RTK GPS in drone. So we, in Phantom 4, we attach a DTM, a GPS, and there the second important part is that because the software, all the software in UAV takes photograph directly. So all these photographs are geotagged. So geotagging, if you are able to read the images, the metadata in the images, then and you can change also. If you can change, then that will be suitable for automatic processing. So that's what we have done in the first case in 3D also, and here also RTK was used, RTK, and then because we are attaching ourselves, so PPK also it is possible to use in PPK. So those things I think in second talk on Raman-I you will see the product which we have developed. Now some more case study. This is on thermal power station. Normal problem is eccentricity. So finding of this tower is of about 270 meters. So using terrestrial laser also it was not possible. Second thing is in this type of tower you don't find any theory which can calculate the eccentricity. So again the mathematics we have given by which you can find out the eccentricity of this type of tower, and we are doing a lot of work using drone to find the eccentricity of tower. You can see here the tower may be say tilted by half a meter or like this. That also is possible to find out to that accuracy. Second, we have developed underwater drone also. You can see this one. Developing in the sense you can, India, no one is producing the hardware part, the body and everything. What we are doing, it's not simple assembling. After assembling, you have to find out the right combination of parts, and then individually you have to calibrate. So that's what we are able to do, and we prepared for copter and then for this water also. So here you can see that all the in bottom it will move and you can see any part, and different types of sensors can be used here. This is I'm showing development of what VTOL recently we have developed. Initially it was fixed wing hand throwing. You can see throwing by hand, it flies. Then you can see roller also, the wheels also there. Through wheels we are able to fly. And this is for carrying more payload. So this is third one in test which we have developed. After that, this is final VTOL, where you can take, it takes off. We have tested near IIT area. There you can see some of the students are there. And after flying, it can cruise and defined path also it can do same way. You can see here. There is one more drone which is doing photograph of this. You can see it is auto mission mode. It has started, so it is flying here. And vertical landing here. Now, other problem which especially Government of India, especially Irrigation Department and National Highway has adopted, they want to see the progress of work. So you will see that there are two screens, left screen and right screen. So videography was done for both area before the work, cleaning of the canal, and after cleaning a canal. And normally it is done by, you can see the photographers can do, they have the all arrangement by which they can do. But for when you have large work, so what we have done again, we have prepared our analytics by which it matches the coordinate, and then that's why you see the one video is not, the movement is not very smooth, because every time it matches with other video and then move. This is again, you can see how minutely you can see the progress of construction, water tank high, which is otherwise not possible. So this is in Roorkee area only. So because in video, you may not see in that much detail, but you can see a 4K video is prepared. So all details are quite visible. So you can see the condition of, in other case, you can see the condition of tower members and all this thing. This is, we are doing for these towers also, BSNL towers, high towers, 150 meter or 200 meters. The condition assessment, and here eccentricity also other part. So using drone it is possible, otherwise I don't find any other instrument, because if you use normal total station, the angle, vertical angle is so large, you will not be able to see, and many details will not be seen. Here each member is seen, and we are able to find out the condition and the vertical. Now, recently, this was prepared SWAN system also. Many times, especially in military area or like this, you want this. So in this case, you can see this is the master drone, and it will guide to slave drone. So now this slave will take off by instruction from the master drone. So this one has taken off. The other one is also taken off. And now when you are moving through only one control device. So we are controlling only the master. Master is guiding other two drone. So you can see now master is moving like this. And here it is guiding both the drone to move. So this will be useful not only in military, in linear mapping, most of the time, you know, for taking the area has to be covered in different lines. So and with one battery, it will not be possible. So if you fly like this, you will cover wider area, especially in linear case. Now there are few more videos I'll show you. The first one which I said, you can see this is 3D prepared. LOD level 1 up to LOD level 1. But here you will see that many buildings are slightly distorted. Top is distorted, and the reason is same, which I have given earlier. The DSM prepared was not having a proper point. The bottom was not there and top also. So in case of drone, our finding is that you have to do either manual distillation of top and bottom, or here machine learning will be used to automatically detect top. But if you go total automatic, then many things will be distorted. You can see trees and everything. This is distorted because of automatic correlation. Now, other thing is important, many times especially in railway also, we found out that on video they are showing the latitude longitude. So left side you will see that the lat long is given, but we wanted to know that where actually it is. So you can see it is synced with the Google image. On the right side you can see small inside there, the hand is showing the position, the current position of the camera. So this side we developed about 4 or 5 years back and again patented. This was called video tagging. Now this is again, we combined the aerial and terrestrial both. So on right screen, if you see, you click any point, that image will be displayed. Video will start playing from there. So many times it is not possible for administrator to see full video and then catch up one point. But here you click on any point, immediately the video will change to left side. You can see it is changing to that point. So, and here you can see the encroachment, everything. So if you combine with the map, it will be very useful. Just 1 minute. I think I am told that videos are not coming. So I'm showing again. This is for FRI wanted for hilly area seed dropping drone. So this we prepared a seed dropping drone. You can see seeds are there, and by command it will start dropping and it will move. So in the hilly inaccessible area, it will be easier to drop. Ishta, are you able to see video?
Yes, sir. It's now visible.
Earlier one also?
No, sir. This is the first video that we can see.
Okay, and now second video. Sorry, this video you can see underwater.
Yes, sir.
This one was seen earlier or not?
This one was seen, sir. The comparative. No, sir. This was not seen.
This one?
No, sir.
This is again, we video you missed and I could not get the response. This is the video of LOD1, which is prepared from drone. As I said, many buildings you will see that slightly distorted. It is because of the poor quality of DSM. Underwater is seen, seed is seen. Okay, so I think in now Adrish, Dr. Adrish will show the products under Ramanite.
Welcome, prestigious guest and my dear friends.
Let me close I think some videos are playing.
No, I have started my screen sharing.
Karo.
Yes, can you see my screen?
Yes, sir, we can see your screen.
Yes, okay, thank you. So, we are revenue special included in TIES at IIT Roorkee. We have created a lot of products like our drone, which we have manufactured and customized with RTK services, and we fit the Sony DSLR camera for the high resolution images for the surveying purpose. Second drone we have with the GoPro camera just for doing the videography or for surveillance. But as in earlier session, Mr. MK Munshi said that drone is just a carrier, but we need softwares to process the data. And data is more important. How we process our data, how we store our data. So we have created two applications, one web-based and second mobile-based. So we are integrating drone data, processing server, and our publishing server. All are integrated in the streamline. We don't have to use different softwares for processing the data. And we store all the data in our centralized server so that we can trace our all the timeline series. So this is our services. Like we provide all the services in the field of GIS and GNSS. We create the DTM, DSM, and surface modeling, structure monitoring. Like in previous slide, we have seen we have done the structure monitoring of the tank. We publish the maps and we integrate the maps for any tools, or if you require any services in your system. So we provide the third-party APIs for the maps. We create the 3D modeling and we do the visualization. And the beauty part in this visualization is this: we visualize and we publish the 3D models in the web-based architecture. Generally, you see that 3D modeling and visualization is done in the desktop application, but we are doing in the web platform also. We also generate the point cloud data and we process these data, and we also do the work process management for surveying tasks. So my agenda of this presentation is the web-based support for the GIS. We know that web is very advanced, but when we talk about the GIS, we have lot of restriction in web-based support because GIS need lots of memory, lots of processing, and dedicated system, dedicated software. So there's a big challenge that how we will include the web-based support for the GIS. So second, the advantages. Hello. Can you listen to me?
Yes, sir, we can
yes,
hear you.
Yes, yes. So agenda, yes. So the main challenges in the web base is to storing our data and handling the GIS data. Even when we see the desktop application, we store the data. Like in earlier sessions, we told that while doing the survey, we have TVs of data because don't send us the data which is lot heavy, lot of images, lot of overlapping images. So when we do the survey of a city, we get the data in TVs. So how we store these data, how we handle, because we need to digitize the parcel in those data. And for digitization, we have a team of 100 and 150%. And all of the team is using the desktop application. So how we share this data to these people? We manually cut or we give all data to copy to them. This will make the redundancy of the data. So this is a very big challenge to handle the data in TVs. Next part is when we have developed our maps, then how we publish those maps for the visualization in mobiles, in web. In web, we can do the online, but in mobile, there is two modes, offline and online, because sometimes when we do the survey, we don't have internet connectivity. So at that time, maximum of GIS application fails because they use the online map services for the high resolution. So here we have the offline solution. The next challenges which we face in the web-based GIS system is data synchronization, because whenever we do the ground survey, we have GPS, and in GPS, we generally see that the data recording is done in the device. So when we do the data recording, then we have to manually put the survey data to the processing unit, and then processing unit merge this data to the shape files, and then they publish. So this is a iterative work, and lot of manual processing is required in this system. So we just cut down these all manual processes, and we just synchronize the streamline solution that no manual work is required. All will be done in automatic. Just survey is done, automatically sent to the server. Server will sync the data. Admin then reviews the data. Because in previous method, we don't have any mechanism so that admin, surveyor, operator can review this data, or they synchronize data with their team. So for these all challenges, we developed our cloud-based system in which we publish data. We can perform the GIS query. This is the beauty of the system, that in web-based system, we generally do the queries engine in the data. But in this our system, we can also perform the GIS query. As we know that we are using in PostGIS and PostGRE, so we can perform any type of GIS query. And when we are doing the manual task, in the manual task, if some error has been done by operator, then that error has been published in the main file. So here in our web-based system, we have transaction system. So if any operator has done any error, so we can roll back those errors in review system. So now, when we are going for the web, what are the main challenges? First is speed and memory, because we see all the GIS application like ArcGIS, QGIS. So these applications use our core system memory and core system speed. But when we are talking about the web, we don't have our own system speed, and we don't have our own memory, because web uses the shared memory, and we take some speed from the server, from memory server, our system server, our browser cache. So there are a lot of dependency. So how we publish these data, this heavy data in web, and how we do the visualization, because 3D visualization and visualizing the point cloud, visualizing the maps, it's easy in the text application, but tough in the GIS data in the web-based application. So we resolve these all challenges in our system. And when we are talking about the web-based, we don't have the core languages support, because in web-based, we have very little support for the languages like Python. We have heard it, Python, .NET, Java, but all are not very much supported for the web. You have to create some interface, some API, some correlation to get your work done. So now the advantages in the GIS-based solution, like when we're talking about the application-based system in text application, so you see that we required a lot of heavy desktops, memory, storage. But when we're talking about the web-based system, so we only need a server. All the operator can work in the normal system in their browser. They can do all the GIS tasks. And the main part is, if like we are talking about the ArcGIS, QGIS, so we require a training to operate these types of software. But generally what we see, the management of the company management or the high-end person, they are very less to get the train in the every software, because we cannot train the management for the every GIS software. So the web-based platform is a user-friendly. You can just, because everybody knows that how the web technology works, so they can just do the GIS data and they view the GIS data in their web platform, because web platform very user-friendly. And main thing, if they want to perform any change, then that change has been synced to the system. But in manual process, if any change has been in the one file, then we have to manually send those file to all the operators. Okay, this change has been done. So this manual task is not required in the web-based GIS solution. Next is advantage synchronization. Like when we are doing the normal survey, we need to sync our data from the GPS device, our desktop, our tablet, IoT device. So we have to take our data manually, and we have to give operator to merge this data. Like in LOD 2.5, if we have some sensors, and now we want those sensors data in our shapefile, then we do these type of tasks manually. But now in this system, if we have any sensor, any field serving data, all data has been synced in the server from the API. So no manual work has been done in our web-based GIS solution. So this is the current workflow, that how we are doing the GIS operations right now, and what are the issues in this. So in first, we see in current time, all the drone data and satellite data, we process these data from the software like Pix4D, Drone Mapper, ODEM, or any other software. Then let's suppose when we are giving drone images to Pix4D, we have 1 TB of data. So we copy these data in the system in which we have installed the Pix4D, because Pix4D require license and heavy server. So first we copied 1 TB data in Pix4D server. They will take time. Then we process the data. Then the output will come in point cloud or in GOT file or in PNG file. So we have to take this PNG file and GOT file. Then again we copy this system. Then we send these data to the digitization person. Like, okay, these are the files we have generated. Now take these GeoTIFF, PNG tiles, and now you perform the digitization task. So when the operator will do the digitization, they will create a shapefile. Now, shapefile is generated, GOT file is generated, but we need to publish this data to the users. So how we will do this? So we have publishing servers, but what they are doing, they are taking the GIS data in shapefile, separate file, then GOT file. Again, we have to copy these data to the publishing server. Then they just provide the URL, like, okay, we have published this data. Now this is the URL. You can see this data, or you can perform any other task. So, but only viewing is not our task. We need to perform some actions. We need to perform some changes. We need to do some GIS query. So how we do this? But this is not available in the current publishing server. And the main challenge is, let's suppose after 1 month, we done one change in our shapefile or in GOT file. So what we require, we again have to do this process. We have to publish the URL. We have to republish the data. If we do single change, then all publishing is gone. We have to republish this shapefile to the publishing server. So now the main challenge is, as we discussed in the GIS, that copying of GOT files was too heavy, takes too much time. Replication of this file create mess, because we have lot of copies and we have done one change in one copy, then we don't know that in which copy we have done the changes, which create a mess in GIS tasks. Then digitization, we don't have the synchronization between the operators. Suppose we have 150 operators and all are doing the digitization, and we have cropped and we have given the copy of the data. So it may possible that they do the overlapping in this digitization. Then how we sync the data of our all operator if we have given the different sets? So, and the digitization we are doing, we don't have any versioning mechanism in this system. Okay, this is our version 1. Now, after 1, this is our version 2. This is our version 3. Because if we are doing the file system, so we have to do this manually. And if operator is doing some errors, the versioning gone. So in our system, all the versioning mechanism has been done by the servers. And we take all the backup procedures, like every day, every week, you can set the timeline. Okay, at what interval you're required to take the backup of your system. So if any system your crashes, you can just roll back your system at that previous point. So now, as we told you that what is the challenges, now this is our solution, that how we solve these are challenges in the single platform and how we perform these things. So in our system, we only require to copy the drone data and satellite images once in our server. No, in our server, we have 2 servers. First is algorithm server. So what this algorithm server does, let's suppose we need to process the drone data or satellite data. So our algorithm system is Python based. So we just provide the input data set to our server. It will just process all the data. We can provide the parameters, okay, how much accuracy you need, which type of algorithm you want to run. So this Python-based algorithm server just generate the output in the point cloud, and it will give you GeoTIFF and PNG file in a folder. Then that folder is automatically shared with our GIS server. Means the copy is still there. We are not replicating our copy. So this data has been imported in our GIS server. Now this GIS server, what it will do, in our GIS server, we have roles like admin, operator, viewer. So GIS server, we create a project. Okay, now we are creating one project. We can create multiple projects. So this project is for this area, the project 2 for this project, this another area. So you created one project. Then in that project, you can sync the data from our algorithm server. Okay, we require these files in this project, this other file in some different project. So you can just create different project with the different data set. But the data is single patch, means you have stored the GOT file in a single server and you are just creating multiple projects and sharing those data with a single copy. Now, with the query system, you can modify these data with the help of GIS queries. And the beauty of the system is, let's suppose our operator, they say, okay, sir, we are comfortable with GIS, QGIS or ArcGIS because these are we are user friendly and we can digitize in the high speed because we are habitual of doing this in last many years. So our system shares data with the QGIS and ArcGIS. So you can connect your QGIS server to our system and you can do the digitization in the QGIS and our system will provide the interface. So all data will be saved in our project, but you can use QGIS and you will get a web view that, okay, whatever you have done, if user want to view, so we will just provide the web view. User can view, it cannot do any changes. And if you want to view this data in mobile, we have the mobile application in which you can use the data. So this is our algorithm server, that how we are processing our data. So you can see here that we have different type of processes and this is upload. So you can just, once you take the drone images, you zip the drone images in multiple patches and upload in our server. Then you can select which type of process you want to execute. You can select the process and then you can execute that process. Start. Here is the progress bar. It will tell you, okay, because sometimes it happens that the processing of data takes 2 or 3 days. So this process bar will tell you that how much data has been processed. Then if the data is processed, you will get the, okay, process is complete. Now you have 2 sections. You want to share the data with GIS server, you can share, or it may require that you want to download that data from our server. So you can download the output to your local system also. Now, let's suppose we are sharing these data to our GIS portal. So this is our GIS portal and this is our dashboard of GIS portal. In this dashboard, you can select the operation, like we have super admin. So super admin will have different powers. Admin will have different powers, operator, viewers, LSA, and mobile operator. So with the help of the role system, so whichever role we have allocated to that user, it can perform that task. Now you can see, just like in QGIS or ArcGIS, we have complete view of GIS data. We have the all features, like you can create multiple layers, you can add shape files. If some extra shape file you want to include, even you can include the third-party layers. Let's suppose we have some third-party servers, like we have Bhuvan server, we have NIC server, and we want to take the data from the WMS query. So we can just put their URL and the map will be published in the layer in our system. So you can view their data in the form of APIs. And you can perform any type of GIS operation like layer ordering, hide view. You can change the feature color, feature pattern, layer transparency. So the main beauty is this all action you are doing in the web-based platform, not in application-based. This all task is done in the web-based. As you know that shapefile and GOT file have lot of memory and lot of tasks, lot of size. So we have handled these all data in the web-based system. So we are just maintaining the cluster. So the screen which you are getting, only that cluster has been loaded and other data is not loaded in your memory. So as you zoom in, as you zoom out, we will just load another cluster so that we handle the memory efficiently. So now this is the beauty of the system. This is our portal and we are published one software. Now we want to do the digitization. So operator in web browser, we are not comfortable. So we want to digitize in the QGIS or in ArcGIS. So okay, no issue. You just open your QGIS, ArcGIS. We provide a link, username, password, and a link to our portal. In this QGIS, you see there is a channels where you can connect other servers. So with the help of this, you can connect our GIS portal and all these vector data will come in QGIS. So now you can perform the editing, shifting, merge, any GIS operation. And when you save this data, just like you save in the file, but when you save this data, it will automatically reflect in our portal. You don't need to perform any manual task or you don't need to republish the data to the publishing server. Just you save the data, it will come in our portal. Now, let's suppose you want to import some other data. You have some different sources of PNG tile or GeoTIFF tile. So in our system, you can import data with our tool, import data. So here you can provide the projections, bound of data, X, Y, and how many zoom level you are uploading in this server. So you can define the zoom level. Okay, we have zoom level from 14 to 22, 14 to 23. So these all data will be then uploaded in our server. And if you want to upload the vector data, we have the vector data. You can select the projection, that what is the projection of your vector data. You can upload the third shapefile if you have in your system. Then you can select shapefile and you can create the feature. Okay, in which feature you want to import this shapefile, you can then select the feature and just import data in our system. Now, the second part, data is in our system, in our workspace of the project. But now we want to perform some field operation. Let's suppose we digitize the data. Now we want to go in the field and we want to fill the data in our digitization. So earlier method was, okay, take this file, upload in mobile phone, we connect the code. Like if you are talking about the QGIS server, there are very challenging tasks. Like QGIS gives us the Q field software. So if you operate that Q field, you find very difficult to do in the field. And if you are gone off, like this net is not working in a mobile phone, then you gone. And there are some also some cloud platform like Cloud GIS. So if you use those software, you will find that, okay, working, but in offline mode, there are a lot of issues and they don't have the features of presenting data in layers and create new layers, or GIS operation is not present in the mobile. So here we are providing all the features in mobile platform also. So what our system will do, we will just export the data to the field admin. We are not directly giving the data to the field operator because we have lot of field operators. So we have created some admins. Okay, this admin will handle this segment of data. Another admin will handle this segment of data. So let's suppose we want to do this survey. So we are allocated, okay, this team will do the survey of roads. This team will do the survey of buildings. This will be do the survey of canals. So correspondingly, we just export the layers to those admins. Here you can see, okay, how many admins, how many operators, how many mobile users you have. So you can just allocate the data to them. Now, this is again the very beautiful part, because whenever in Maximum software we have to share the complete shapefile. But in our system, you don't have to share the complete shapefile with this surveyor. Okay, let's suppose this was our shapefile, and we just want to give this zone, the polygon you are seeing here, we want to give this zone to one mobile user. So you can just in shapefile, you just create a polygon. So only this data will be given to the mobile surveyor. So you can just create multiple zone and send to the multiple operator, field operator. Okay, you go to this area, you go to this area, and this area with these features. Okay, roads of this area, buildings of this area. So you can define all of these things. And when you export, it will show the data. Okay, how many point line polygons has been exported to the field surveyor. Now, review mechanism. Now, data is in field, surveyor is doing the filling the data. So what happened many times, surveyor sometimes misclicked or some randomly enter some data. So we want to discard the garbage and we want to take the actual data. So there is one filter lever. When user will publish this data, so here you can select that, okay, all operators here come, you can select the layers, that which layer data we want to review. All data will come in the list, and you can even view the operator data in the GIS form. The main part is that we are not providing the data queries only, we are giving you the GIS view also. Like here's the GIS view, this is the data which surveyor has been taken. So you can review this data. Okay, data is perfectly fine, all the names written is correct. No, let's sometime what happens, the attribute we have given 10 attributes and they have filled data in attribute one, data is filled in attribute 2. So you can do the changes as well in, okay, this is some error, you can just rectify those errors and just submit to the admin. So this is the first review level, that operator operator admin reviews the data and send to the admin. And admin will again review data. When admin will review the data, then it will be merged to the original copy, and this will be the final data. And we mark it as a version 1. Okay, this is a version 1. Then we send next survey, then data will come, then version 2. So we can do the rollback and we can maintain the versioning automatically. This is our field software. So in this mobile application, you can perform the online and offline survey. So how I will tell you. So, and this in this mobile, you can even create, delete, merge, modify the parser on the field, and synchronization of data is also available in this. And the main part is generally we found that in our mobile phone we have GPS of accuracy 2 to 3 meter, but sometimes what we required to plot the parser in high end accuracy. So we just roam with the plot boundaries. So for this, we have the RTK GPS, external RTK GPS, which we connect with our device. And with the help of this RTK GPS, you can perform the tracing of the parser boundary within the accuracy of centimeters. Now, again, as we said that there's a lot of challenges mobile and web with support. So what happens sometimes that mobile memory is not high, memory is low, or you don't have the higher processor in the mobile. So what you can do, as per the speed of your mobile, you can download the zoom layer of the drone images. So if you want to download the zoom level 14, you just download the zoom level 14 and perform your all tasks in zoom level 14. As high as zoom level you will download, you require the good mobile phone with good memory. So according to your mobile phone speed, you just download the zoom layer and perform the serving task. So this is the first part where we have different, let's suppose, because as we know, when we fly the drone, we have different patches. So this is, let's suppose, 3 patches here we have. In these 3 patches, we have all the zoom levels. So you can select, okay, this patch level, we require this zoom level. So you can download the zoom level of that patch and then perform the task. So that was the raster images. Now come to the vector section. So here the project we created with the shapefile. So you can download the features. Then all the features will be shown here. Like, okay, in this feature, which layer you want to download, residential, road polygon. So in which layer you want to do the survey, you just download that layer and you start survey. So this is the view. You can see here in background, we are integrated our map with the OSM, OpenStreetMap. In this above, you are getting the drone image, high resolution drone image, and then above you are getting the digitization. So this is a very good part that in the mobile phone, we are publishing all these 3 layers, and you can go offline. Even if you are doing the survey in the offline, it will support you. You can fill the data, and whenever net will come, you will just sync back your data to the server. You can perform the zoom and zoom before you have the actions, focus, locate, edit, because sometime in mobile in the field, what happens, we just misclick somewhere. So you can relocate at the point where you are standing. So with the help of GPS, it will show that where you are and in which parser you are standing. You can click on that parser, you can just fill the data, you can click the images, you can take the images of that parser, and you can just send to the server. Like operations, which you can perform with the parser, like add. If you want to add new parser on the field, let's suppose at the time of digitization, we was unable to field, okay, there is a parser. So when we are on the ground, we can create new parsers, we can delete the parcel, because while image interpretation on the satellite images, we don't able to get that, okay, this is the parser, we missed write something. So we can delete those registration on the field. We can merge 2 plots, because what happened in the agriculture area, farmers do the boundary of small parts, but we found this all area is belonging to the one farmer. So we can just delete the center line and we can merge all the small area to the single owner. We can modify the lines, like if there is a road is going, we want to modify the roads. If we want to shift all the plot, like, okay, this size has been not accurate while doing from the aerial images, so you can shift all the process somewhere left to right and just fix on the area and just submit. So this is mobile phone with the internal GPS. Here we have two images. We are showing in this, we are connected our RTK GPS with antenna. So in this cap over, we have mounted the antenna. In hand, we have our mobile phone. And because when we are connecting the external GPS, we required some battery. So in bag, we have set up all our batteries for backup. So this is our mechanism for doing the RTK GPS serving, because when we are going on the ground, the accuracy cannot be compromised. So all these software from the drone, servers, digitization, field survey, all work has been done in the streamline with the centralized server. So we don't have any issue of the data mess. We don't have replication of the data because data is in the TB. We are saving our images, and we have the versioning method. So whenever we found any error, we can go back to the previous version. So I'm winding up here. Thanks. And we are opening the question and answer round. If you have any queries, any question, you can just ask me.
Thank you so much, sir, for your presentation. We do have a couple of questions, and we'll just take it from here. May I also request Dr. Jain to be a part of the question round?
I'm on, I think.
Yes, sir. So the first question is, sir, how can we find the eccentricity of a tower using drones? Please provide some direction. This question is from Deepak sir.
Eccentricity of tower is complete analytics that, as I said, we have given that mathematics how to find out the eccentricity. And it is not published also. It is like we have in the software. So immediately I cannot give you answer like this.
Thank you, sir. The next question has been asked by Dr. Hasmukh Chauhan. Are the Raven-i products DGCA approved?
DGCA, we have last year it was registered in DGCA, but there is some problem in server. So in inauguration also I asked the Joint Secretary, and I think they are solving the problem. So it will be, we are ready, and whenever the server is ready, we'll get registered.
Thank you, sir. That would be all the questions for this session. Thank you for joining us, and I thank all our online viewers for their participation. We go
Thank you.
offline now.
Thank you.